everybody. We're here on beautiful Bird Island and I am inside of our red mangrove clusters. Now our red mangroves, these are actually a protected species of plant in our area. We have protected species of plants just like we have protected species of animals. And we've got 3 mangroves in our area, the black, the white, and the red. This thicket right here is all red mangroves. We can tell by their leaf shape and color. You can see they've got a distinct pointy shape, and on the back side they're very, very lime green. That's one of the easiest ways that you can distinguish this species. You can also look for their new growth. They have a tiny little node that comes up in between all the other leaves. Now, not all of the mangroves have that, so again, this is another red feature distinguisher of our red mangrove trees. Another thing that we can use to tell is all of our prop roots. Red mangroves are the only mangroves here in our area that actually produce prop roots. We typically don't see the roots of plants growing above ground, but the red mangrove actually grows her roots above ground for a reason. They help them elevate up off of the floor of the estuaries, so that way when the tides fluctuate every 6 hours, high and low tide, their prop roots keep them propped up out of the water for when high tide comes up, which also provides a home for lots of our other estuary creatures, like a lot of our baby fish. Then when the tide goes down, you can see that the crabs go and weave in and out of all of these prop roots, and there's actually a specific type of crab called the mangrove crab that you'll find all over these red mangroves. Let's continue and see if we can find any more mangrove species. The prop roots of the red mangrove also have another unique function. They have pores located all over these roots, and when it's low tide and the roots are exposed to air, they can actually directly take oxygen into the plant's body. This helps the plant function better. The plant can only do this during low tide though, so they want to take in as much oxygen as can before high tide comes back. So we've actually found one of our baby mangrove trees still growing on our mother. We call these propagules, and the mangrove tree actually grows the seed on her body. She does this because she wants to give her babies the absolute best chance of survival as possible. So instead of just dropping a seed like normal trees do, the mother red mangrove will actually grow her seeds. And you can see this is where the baby started, the seed started, and this right here is all of the growth that has come from her sacrificing her nutrients for her babies. So that way when this seed is ready to come off, this baby tree will pop off into the ground. All it has to do is land in some sand and it can almost immediately start growing roots and then sprout as a baby mangrove tree. Instead of having to germinate and go through the process of breaking through that seed shell, the mother is actually able to sacrifice her own energy and put that into her babies so that they can survive and grow faster in the wild.
These propagules have rooted amongst these rocks for protection from the waves.
Mangroves are not only important to sea life, but they're also important to bird life as well. We have called this place Bird Island because we can see lots of different types of birds here. We get raptors, such as our ospreys, and some of the hawks that are willing to venture a little closer to the shore. We also get pelicans, gulls of all kinds, not just seagulls, and lots of other birds that will live around the water. So these mangroves provide rookeries for them to sleep in at night. A rookery is where birds of all different species will come and spend the night together because they know there's safety in numbers. And even though they're all different types of birds, they don't care. They know that if they sleep together, they're safe together, and they can also help protect each other and look after each other's back. So mangrove islands just like this are extremely important for all of these aquatic and marine bird species that have to breed and eat and live basically their entire lives out by the water. These trees are also a very good habitat for lots of other creatures. Not only our marine estuary creatures, but lots of creatures like raccoons will come down to the mangroves to take oysters and eat oysters off of their prop roots. We have found our black mangrove tree, we can tell our black mangrove by the color of its leaf. So you'll see that it's actually green on the top and very silvery on the underside. Now this silver color is actually the salt deposits that the tree puts on the underside of the leaf. So it's going to grow like this. So this is the underside of our leaf that has all of the salt over it. These are called excluders. So they take in the salt and they push it out through the back of their leaves so that the salt doesn't over-toxify the plant's body. They do this because the salt doesn't help them in any way. If anything, the salt actually dehydrates the plant. So they don't want that salt in there. That's why they dispose of it on the back side of their leaf. And you can actually taste it. If you were to take a black mangrove leaf and lick it, you'll actually taste that natural sea salt. So good, so salty. There's some other features about the black mangrove that can help us to identify them as well. Our other distinguishing feature about the black mangrove are their pneumatophores. So these are little snorkel-like roots that grow up from the ground. So typically roots grow into the ground to deepen them into the soil. Well, these roots actually shoot off of the main roots and come up back above the soil so that these plants can actually take oxygen directly from the air. They do this because as the tides change, when the tide is up, their pneumatophores are covered by water. They're really not going to be able to take up much extra oxygen. But as soon as the low tide happens and they're exposed to air, they're actually able to still breathe and get extra oxygen in. And this helps keep their roots intact together too. One of the main important features of our mangroves in our coastal areas is the fact that they keep our sand together. They keep our beaches from eroding and all of our shorelines. And these pneumatophores help to keep all of that sand compacted together. So the third species is our white mangrove. We can tell this leaf because it has a distinctive W-shaped notch. So my professor always liked to tell you, he's like, look for the W for white mangrove. Another very common distinction is the nodes that they have. They have 2 nodes on their stems. Now these nodes are where the white mangrove will push out the excess salt that they take in. Because again, these plants don't want salt. Salt hurts the plants. It doesn't help the plants on the inside. So with the black mangrove, they put it on the back side of the leaf. With our white mangrove, they push it out these nodes. And with our red mangrove, they actually don't take in the salt at all. So that we have a comparison of all of our 3 different types of mangroves, I have a leaf from each one. You can see my white mangrove, very rounded and flat with that notch at the tip. My red mangrove, it's pointed, it's super waxy, and on the back it's bright lime green yellow. And then my black mangrove, which is the smaller leaf, it's a little more elongated, but it's got silver on the backside. And remember, that's all that salt. You can lick that salt off too. One of the most important features of mangroves to our area is that they help us with our erosion. The roots of all those plants dig down deep and they hold the soil together. They keep the soil profile intact and compacted together so that when the ocean waves come and pound against the shore, it doesn't remove all of that soil particulate away and take it back into the ocean. When this does happen, if there aren't enough plants, we can have large, barren hills and dunes of sand that you can see no plants can grow on, which obviously means no other life can live there either. When we have our mangrove species, they keep that sand together and they keep these large dunes from forming like you can see behind me. All of the plants up top there, they're holding that soil together. But since we removed everything from the face of this wall, every time the waves come in as a boat goes by, it pulls more and more of that sand back into the intercoastal. That's not a good thing. We don't want that because that means that it's eroding away our coastlines. And this is happening all over Florida because people love to build hotels and resorts right on the water, on the beaches. So they end up taking out our mangroves and our sea grapes to do that. And when that happens, this is when we get these major erosion problems happening. So we want to keep our native plants where they're at in all of the soil they're supposed to be at. And remember that all of these species have a role. They have a purpose out here, whether that purpose is keeping the sand and soil together from eroding or providing a habitat for other species.